G'day guys, this is Nick from Stridewise.com with a disembodied deer bone on the table because I recently got my first Cordovan shoes and I'm here with David from Shellvege, which is a YouTube channel that is devoted to high-end menswear and footwear. Hello, David.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And I got these shoes and I got them secondhand as well. These are Alden Cordovan wingtip shoes. Even though I have like a 6-year-old channel now on boots, I actually haven't really done Cordovan because I try to stay in like the sub $500, ideally sub $300 range of nice leather welted footwear. Cordovan is always more than that, just about. So now that I'm getting into some Cordovan, I didn't think there was anyone better to talk to than David. Well, first off, what's Cordovan?
Yes, Cordovan is a leather. We'll maybe get more into that topic at another point, but it is a leather that comes from the rump of a horse. So it's not necessarily referring to the skin of the animal, but referring to one of the underlying like muscles or membranes beneath the skin of the horse's butt, and that's why it's got very unique characteristics, kind of wear properties, and has a very unique color, luster, and kind of character over time.
What are these unique properties of Cordovan? Why am I spending so much on Cordovan shoes?
Part of it is really driven by the like the vegetable tanning of Cordovan. It's just a much longer and like more labor-intensive process.
I visited Horween in Chicago, who make both of the Cordovan used on these Alden shoes here. It takes, I believe it was 9 to 12 months, they told me. That's in the description below if you want to see how it's made.
The Cordovan itself is known for not having the same like micro creasing that calf skin or the skin of the animal would, because that comes from the like the grain structure kind of breaking down and creasing.
Right,
whereas,
and Cordovan is not actually skin like leather is, yeah. It tends to be self-shining, it tends to not crease, and it tends to be pretty hard wearing as well. So first of all, we're gonna get into conditioning and we're gonna get into polishing as well, but first I wanna get into storing, like just what do I do with them when I'm not wearing them?
Shoe trees are definitely recommended, and that will that'll really help to just kind of maintain like the overall shape. It also will absorb some of the moisture from just wearing the shoes all day, or if you wore them and it rained or in the snow.
Particularly if it's made of cedar, there are a lot of plastic shoe trees out there, and while that'll do a decent job of maintaining the shape, it's not going to have all these extra benefits of sucking up moisture and stuff that winds up inside the shoe when you've been in there walking around and sweating in them all day. And that moisture, if you don't let it dry out, that can contribute to like faster degradation of like stitches and leather and that kind of stuff. What else? Are there environments you shouldn't wear them in? Should you keep them away from water?
You just need to let them dry and kind of apply the care routine that we're about to get into. If there are any like dried rain spots or anything on it, they're going to either start to resolve on their own, like from the brushing, but you don't need to condition it every time, and if it's adequately conditioned, it should respond better to just brushing.
Do you recommend brushing them just anytime they go outside afterwards?
It's a recommended like norm that you should keep up, but if you can't or if you skip it, it's not the end of the world. I would just make sure at least like if you wear them 3 or 4 times one week, definitely make sure that you like brush them off at least one time that week.
Now let's talk about maintenance and conditioning. As skin, like our faces, you want to moisturize it regularly. How often do you condition them, and does it need more or less conditioning than your average leather?
It doesn't need to be a set cadence of like every 4 weeks you have to condition it, because then you're just kind of conditioning it for the sake of conditioning it, as opposed to like, does it actually like look dry?
The average guy doesn't know what drier looking leather is. How do you know that it's in need of conditioning?
You know, like this, when you feel like this, it kind of has a silky smooth feel to it. This is like a little rougher, but that's probably just from like, you know, scuffs or scratches. Like, especially with Cordovan, you can feel like it gets rough. So it's more so like a, you know, if you like 3 wears, just kind of light wears around, you know, maybe on the weekend is different than like 3 wears during the work week where maybe you're in the city walking 20, 30 blocks or something. So I think 4 to 6 weeks is like that good like starting point, especially for Cordovan.
So it's important because Cordovan, it has a name for itself as a particularly durable, strong leather, but you would condition it more often than other leathers, nonetheless.
It's a vegetable tan leather. chrome tan leathers tend to, respond a little bit better to the elements because they have a little bit more of a artificial layer on top of it.
Tell me about conditioning. What's the conditioning process like?
So you can use a number of different types of leather conditioners. I prefer using something primarily from Pure Polish products.
This is your company though?
No, this is Andy. I'm not involved in this at all.
Oh, okay. All right. Also, Sophia's renovator is fine.
Yeah.
What's your process look like?
So just light brushing. Again, just the goal with the brushing here is just so that when you apply the product, you're not pushing any dirt or dust into the leather.
Okay, and if it's that dirty,
then you would probably need a little more abrasive of a cleaner. I would just take a little bit of rubbing alcohol mixed with water and a white t-shirt and go at it. How
much conditioner do you use? Can you use too much?
My process is just like kind of dab a little bit, dries up, dab a little more, kind of dries up. That's just kind of how I like regulate how much conditioner I'm actually using.
Getting a little bit darker. What's next? You brush it down, right?
Yeah, but you want to wait until it's not tacky. Brushing the leather while it's still damp before it has dried. It won't like shine up.
Yeah, how long does that take?
I'd say like 5 to 10 minutes.
All right, well, while we're waiting, when does this happen? What's a bone for?
A deer bone, also known as a polishing bone, depending on where you may find one of these, is used to treat the surface of the shell Cordovan, specifically when it comes to the rolls.
You would get a deer bone if you look at your shoes and say, they're looking pretty rolly, I'd like to flatten those out.
It's not just to smooth the rolls, because like I could smooth the rolls with this. And then as soon as, I would take more time, but then as soon as I put it back on, it's gonna roll again.
Okay.
So that you can get into those high stress areas and kind of like get any of that dirt or grime out and try to, keep the stress like evenly distributed across the leather.
Okay, so a bone is a common polishing tool. This is another one that achieves the same thing.
This is a piece of coca-cola wood. This is an extremely dense wood, which is the most important part of like why that was used. It's specifically designed for that. You don't have to worry about using an edge here and then like scratching the entire shell. And you don't have to keep this in a plastic bag so that it doesn't dry out, and you don't have to hold a deer bone. It's kind of got a narrower point at the end so that you can actually get into those narrower parts of the crease and kind of get to any part of the shoe. So
the smoothness and uniformity of either this piece of wood, which is very dense, or the deer bone, that helps to move oils and stuff around the leather. And in that way, that helps to sort of rejuvenate itself.
Yeah.
Cool, sweet, all right. And you would do this before conditioning, after conditioning, or you can do it on a totally different day?
You can do it, they're mutually exclusive activities.
What kind of pressure are you putting on with the bone/wood?
Just kind of, just repeating the motion.
What about polishing and shining? I always hear that Cordovan is a self-shining or a self-polishing leather.
This is shell Cordovan. And without asking you to touch a wallet that I've been sitting on, you can tell like this is pretty shiny. Mm-hmm. And I've never applied anything to this. It's simply, this is always the side that's against me, and this is always the side that's against the jeans. Mm-hmm. And it's shined itself. Okay, so when people say self-shining, does that mean it'll shine itself if you brush it, or it'll just shine itself from walking around? It's not going to be from walking around. It needs friction and it needs agitation, but in a way that will keep it smooth. So not like an abrasive agitation, but like a fluffy, dense horsehair brush, or a soft cotton cloth to buff it. That kind of stuff without adding additional product or wax on top of it. You still need to condition the shoes regularly so it has the oils and stuff in it. Yeah. But as long as it does, because the nature of Cordovan, you can brush it around and it'll shine itself up. Yes. Do you ever polish Cordovan boots? I do not. I would use a product like this, which is a more protective product.
Okay, so instead of using a cream polish, which a lot of people do, for Cordovan, you want to use a wax polish, which will still be pigmented, but it's more about adding an extra layer against the elements.
It'll just kind of just go on the toe and the heel.
And then like further improves the water resistance.
Yeah, I think the big benefit that you get out of this is like when it protects the scuffs and the scratches when you're sitting in an office chair like this and you keep doing that.
All right.
But yeah,
the wax polish makes it extra durable against scuffs. All right, okay, cool, sweet. All right, well, that's how to take care of your Cordovan boots or shoes. And subscribe to Shellvege's channel, which is in the description below, if you want more tips on these sorts of things, because all he does is talk about Cordovan all the time. That's not true. He does lots of other stuff as well, but he does a lot more Cordovan talk than I do. So check it out if you want to see more, and subscribe here for more stuff on casual stuff that lasts a long time. And I'll see you in the next video.